Have you ever noticed that when you truly understand something, when it clicks deep within your consciousness, your entire world shifts? Tonight, I want to share with you a profound truth that will transform how you experience reality itself. And right now, as you listen to these words, the universe is orchestrating events beyond your imagination. Forces are aligning, circumstances are shifting, and a wave of incredible manifestations is heading your way. But here's the crucial part. Most people miss these blessings because they're looking in the wrong direction and are failing to imagine the magnetism. You see, the universe doesn't repay you based on what you do. It repays you based on who you are being in your consciousness. This is the secret that changes everything. When you grasp this truth, you'll understand why some people seem to effortlessly attract their desires, while others struggle endlessly. Think about this. Every moment of your life, you're broadcasting a signal to the universe through your consciousness. This signal isn't your words, your actions, or even your thoughts. It's your state of being. It's the feeling you carry within you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to manipulate external circumstances, never realizing that the external is merely a reflection of their internal state. They chase success, love, wealth, always reaching, always striving, never understanding that these things aren't to be pursued, but to be assumed. Let me share something profound with you. The universe isn't separate from you. It is you extended. Every person, every circumstance, every event in your life is yourself pushed out. When you truly understand this, you'll realize why the universe must repay you, because it's simply responding to what you're being. Tonight, I'm going to show you how to position yourself to receive these universal repayments. But first, you must understand that this isn't about doing more. It's about being more. It's about expanding your consciousness to embrace the reality you desire. The secret to feeling truly alive lies not in what you accumulate or achieve, but in your capacity to feel the reality of your desires. Now, most people live in a state of emotional numbness, going through the motions of life without ever experiencing its full vibrancy. Consider this. When was the last time you felt absolutely, unshakably alive? When every state in your body vibrated with the energy of pure being. That state isn't something to be found. It's something to be claimed through your consciousness. Mirror your kingdom, mirror your power, mirror your glory, mirror your glory, mirror your life. This is a quote from the style in the book. You see, at this very moment, you're experiencing only a tiny fraction of what life has to offer. You've constructed walls in your consciousness, limitations that seem real, but exist only because you've accepted them as truth. These walls weren't built by the universe. They were built by your assumptions. You saw this wall that you drew as a way of protecting and closing yourself in. Let me share a principle that will revolutionize your understanding. Every sensation you've ever experienced Every emotion you've ever felt exists within your consciousness. You don't need external circumstances to feel alive. You need only to awaken to the aliveness that already exists within you. Find that space, that inner space, that inner presence, that inner awareness, that inner understanding. Most people wait for something external to make them feel alive. They wait for the perfect relationship, the ideal job, the dream house. But I tell you this, waiting is the very thing that keeps you from experiencing the fullness of life. The universe responds not to your wanting, but to your being. When you feel truly alive, when you embody the state of vibrant, pulsing life force, the universe must, by law, reflect that state back to you in countless unexpected ways. Everyone turns around. You were here once. Now you are begging for another chance to come back. Think about this. Every moment of intense aliveness you've ever experienced was created not by external circumstances, but by your consciousness. Those moments when you felt invincible, when you felt connected to everything, those weren't given to you by the world. They were created by your assumption of that state. The key to constant renewal, to feeling perpetually alive, lies in understanding that consciousness is the only reality. Whatever you feel to be true, whatever state you occupy in consciousness, must be reflected in your external world. What most people don't realize is that feeling alive isn't something that happens to you. Your consciousness is the gateway through which all experiences flow. When you change your consciousness, you change the entire spectrum of your experiences. Consider the vastness of the universe for a moment. Billions of galaxies, infinite possibilities, all existing simultaneously. Yet you experience only what you accept as possible in your consciousness. Your current experience of life is merely one tiny channel on an infinite broadcast spectrum. The universe is constantly trying to repay you with experiences that match your highest vision. But here's the crucial point. You must tune your consciousness to receive these experiences. Just as a radio can only receive the frequencies it's tuned to, your consciousness can only experience what it's aligned with. Most people live their entire lives never adjusting their frequency. They stay tuned to the same channel of limited experiences, never realizing they have access to the entire spectrum of existence. They feel stuck, stagnant, barely alive, when infinite vitality is available to them. Let me share something profound about the nature of feeling alive. When you truly feel alive, you're not just experiencing life, you're creating it. Every moment of genuine aliveness is a moment of pure creation. In those moments, you're not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are that force individualized. But here's where most people miss the mark. They try to feel alive through external stimulation. They chase experiences, relationships, achievements, never realizing that these things can't make them feel alive. They can only reflect the aliveness that already exists within their consciousness. The universe is waiting to repay you with experiences that will take your breath away, but it can only give you what you're prepared to receive in consciousness. If you're operating from a state of emotional deadness, of limited expectations, that's exactly what will be reflected back to you. Think about the times when you felt most alive. In those moments, you weren't trying to feel alive, you simply were alive. You weren't reaching for something outside yourself. You were fully present in your own being. That's the state from which miracles flow. The secret that most people miss is that the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. If you're constantly living in a state of wanting to feel alive, you're actually affirming your current state of not feeling alive. This is why so many people remain stuck despite their best efforts. Let me share with you a profound truth about consciousness. Your consciousness is not confined to your physical body. It extends to everything you're aware of. When you feel truly alive, that aliveness permeates your entire world. Everything you touch, everyone you interact with, must reflect that state back to you. Most people don't realize that they are constantly creating their reality through their state of consciousness. Every moment, every interaction, every experience is shaped by the state you're occupying. If you're operating from a state of limited aliveness, your experiences will reflect that limitation. Consider this. The universe is not a random collection of events and circumstances. It's a perfect mirror, reflecting back to you your own consciousness. When you understand this, you'll realize why some people seem to live charmed lives while others struggle continuously. The key to receiving unexpected blessings from the universe lies in expanding your consciousness to embrace more life, not just theoretically, but actually feeling more alive in your day-to-day existence. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about positive being. Most people live in a state of emotional contraction. They've learned to suppress their natural vitality, to dim their light, to exist rather than truly live. But I tell you this, that contracted state is not natural. Your natural state is one of expanding aliveness. Think about a time when you felt absolutely unstoppable. In that moment, you weren't doing anything special. You were simply being in a state of expanded consciousness. That state is always available to you. It's not something to achieve. It's something to allow. The universe is constantly trying to give you more life, more vitality, more experiences that make you feel truly alive. But it can only give you what you're willing to receive in consciousness. Listen carefully now, because this is where most people go wrong. They think they need to work harder, do more, achieve more to feel alive. But I tell you, feeling alive is your natural state. You don't need to earn it. You only need to remove the barriers you've placed in your consciousness. Think of your consciousness as an infinite ocean of possibilities. Right now, you're experiencing only a tiny drop of that ocean. Not because the rest isn't available to you, but because you've limited yourself through your assumptions about what's possible. The universe is preparing to repay you in ways that will astonish you. But you must be ready to receive. This readiness isn't about external preparation. It's about expanding your consciousness to embrace more life, more possibilities, more of everything that makes you feel vibrantly alive. Most people live in a state of constant preparation, always getting ready for life, but never fully living it. They're waiting for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, the ideal conditions. But I tell you this, the perfect moment is now. The ideal condition is your current consciousness expanded to embrace more life. Consider how a flower blooms. It doesn't struggle or strain. It doesn't try to force its petals open. It simply allows its natural state of blossoming to unfold. Your consciousness works the same way. When you stop struggling and start allowing, when you cease trying to feel alive and simply allow yourself to be alive, everything changes. The universe operates through law, not luck. When you maintain a state of expanded consciousness, of genuine aliveness, that state must, by law, be reflected in your external world. This isn't wishful thinking. This is the operation of universal law. Most people don't realize that their current circumstances are simply their past assumptions made manifest. Whatever you're experiencing now is the result of the state you've been occupying in consciousness. Change the state and you change everything. But here's the crucial point. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to feel alive and expect the universe to respond. You must actually occupy the state of expanded consciousness, of genuine aliveness. The secret to receiving unexpected blessings lies in understanding that the universe doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your assumptions. When you assume a state of expanded consciousness, when you live from that state consistently, the universe must conform to match your assumption. Most people make the mistake of trying to change their circumstances while maintaining the same consciousness. They want different results, but continue operating from the same limited state. This is like planting apple seeds and expecting to grow oranges. Let me share something profound about the nature of consciousness. Your consciousness is creative. It's constantly creating your reality, whether you're aware of it or not. Every moment, you are either creating from a state of expanded awareness or from a state of limitation. Think about the last time something amazing happened unexpectedly. In that moment, weren't you in a state of openness, of expanded possibilities? That state wasn't created by the circumstance. The circumstance was created by the state. The universe is waiting to shower you with experiences that will make your heart sing. But you must be vibrating at the frequency of those experiences. You must be living from the state that matches what you want to receive. Most people live in a state of emotional constriction, constantly bracing themselves against life. They've learned to expect limitations, to anticipate problems, to prepare for the worst. But I tell you this, that contracted state is creating more of the very things they're trying to avoid. Consider how different your life would be if you lived constantly from a state of expanded consciousness. If you moved through each day feeling fully alive, fully present, fully open to receiving. That state isn't something to achieve, it's something to allow. The universe operates with mathematical precision. Whatever state you occupy in consciousness must be reflected in your external world. This isn't theory. This is law. The most crucial understanding you must grasp is that your current state of consciousness is creating your future experiences. Every moment you spend feeling limited, constrained, or barely alive is setting the stage for more of the same. But every moment you spend in expanded consciousness is creating future moments of unexpected blessings. Think about this deeply. The universe isn't withholding anything from you. It's constantly offering you everything, but you can only receive what your consciousness is prepared to accept. All right? If you're living in a state of emotional contraction, you're literally closing the door to countless blessings. Most people live as if life is happening to them, when in truth, life is happening through them. Your consciousness is the lens through which all your experiences are filtered. Change the lens, and you change everything you see and experience. Consider the difference between watching a sunset while feeling fully alive and watching the same sunset while feeling emotionally numb. The sunset hasn't changed, but your experience of it is completely different. This is how consciousness shapes reality. The universe is preparing to repay you with experiences that will transform your understanding of what's possible. But you must be ready. This readiness isn't about external preparation. It's about maintaining a state of expanded consciousness consistently. Most people can't sustain an expanded state because they're constantly reacting to external circumstances. They allow their state to be determined by what's happening around them, rather than allowing their state to determine what happens. Let me share something profound about the nature of reality. Everything you experience is a reflection of your consciousness. There is no such thing as an external event that isn't connected to your state of consciousness. Everything is yourself pushed out. When you understand this, you'll realize why some people seem to live charmed lives while others struggle constantly. It's not about luck or fate. It's about the state of consciousness they consistently occupy. The key to receiving unexpected blessings lies in maintaining an expanded state regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means understanding that your consciousness creates reality. Think about a time when everything in your life seemed to flow effortlessly. In that state, you weren't doing anything different externally. You were being different internally. You were operating from a state of expanded consciousness. Most people spend their lives trying to arrange circumstances to feel better, when they should be arranging their consciousness to create better circumstances. The sequence is crucial. First the state, then the manifestation. Your task is simple, though not always easy. You must maintain a state of expanded consciousness, regardless of what your senses show you. You must feel fully alive, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. You must live from the end, feeling what you want to experience before it manifests externally. The universe operates through immutable laws. Whatever state you consistently occupy in consciousness must be reflected in your external world. This isn't wishful thinking. This is the operation of law. As you leave here tonight, remember this. The universe is not separate from you. It is you extended. Every blessing you receive, every unexpected gift, every moment of synchronicity is simply your consciousness made manifest. Don't wait for external circumstances to make you feel alive. Choose to feel alive now. Don't wait for success to feel successful. Occupy that state now. Don't wait for abundance to feel abundant. Live from that state now. The universe will repay you not based on what you do, but based on who you are being in consciousness. Be the person who lives fully, who embraces life completely, who expects miracles as naturally as breathing. Your role is not to make things happen. Your role is to assume the state that allows things to happen. Live from that state consistently and watch as the universe rearranges itself to match your assumption. Remember, the power that you seek is not outside you. It is your very consciousness. Use it wisely. Use it consistently. Use it with the understanding that every moment of expanded consciousness is creating future moments of unexpected blessing. Go forth now, not to achieve, but to be. Not to get, but to embody. Not to become, but to assume. For in this lies the secret of receiving everything you've ever desired and more than you could ever imagine. The universe is waiting to repay you in ways beyond your current comprehension. But you must be ready. You must be willing. You must be living in the state of consciousness that matches what you want to receive. That is your task. That is your opportunity. That is your destiny. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Choose now. Choose to live from the state of consciousness that matches your highest vision. For in that choice lies everything you've ever wanted and more than you've ever dreamed possible. The universe, this vast intelligent power that surrounds us, that lives in us, that IS us, does not respond to your wants. And yet, this is the most liberating truth you will ever encounter, for it unveils the actual law by which your world is shaped, the fallacy of wanting. But Neville, you might say, I have been taught that I must want things intensely to attract them. This, my dear friends, is the first illusion we must dispel. Wanting by its very nature is an admission of lack. When you say I want, you are declaring to the universe, I do not have. And the universe, being the perfect mirror of consciousness, reflects back precisely this state of not having. Consider for a moment what the word want truly implies. To want is to be without. It is to stand in a state of absence, looking outward at something you do not possess. And as you stand firmly in this consciousness of absence, the law being no respecter of persons, but only of states, must continue to deliver experiences that match this consciousness of lack. I knew a man in New York who for years proclaimed his desire for financial abundance. Daily he affirmed, I want wealth. I want to be free of debt. Yet year after year, his financial situation deteriorated. One day, in desperation, he came to me, and I shared with him what I now share with you. The universe was not failing him. It was responding with perfect precision to his consciousness of wanting, of absence, of lack. The state to which the universe responds. If the universe does not respond to want, to what does it respond? It responds unfailingly to your state of being, to what you are claiming yourself to be in the depths of your consciousness. The universe does not care what you want. It only cares what you are. Every moment of your existence, you occupy a state. These states are countless. But at this very moment, you are in a state. It may be a state of health or illness, wealth or poverty, love or loneliness. And the universe, with mathematical precision, delivers experiences that correspond to this state. I am, these two words, are the most powerful in all of existence. Whatever follows, I am shapes your reality. When you declare I am sick, the universe does not analyze whether you desire this sickness. It simply reflects back experiences that match this declaration. When you declare I am wealthy, even if your bank account appears empty, you are shifting into a state to which the universe must respond. What many fail to realize is that you need not wait for external evidence to claim a new state of being. In fact, the evidence will only follow your prior assumption. As I have told you time and again, imagination creates reality. But it is not what you imagine as something distant or separate from yourself. It is what you imagine yourself to be. The feeling I ask the secret. My beloved audience, here we approach the heart of the matter. The universe responds not to your thoughts, not to your words, not even to your occasional declarations. It responds to your consistent feeling, your emotional state, the mood that permeates your being. Feelings are the language of the soul. They are the true communication between you and the divine power that shapes your world. When you feel wealthy, you are wealthy in consciousness, and the universe must respond to this state. When you feel loved, you are loved in consciousness, and your world reshapes itself to reflect this truth. I recall a young woman who attended my lectures in Los Angeles. For years, she had been seeking a loving relationship, moving from one disappointing encounter to another. I want to be loved, she would say with tears in her eyes. And yet, day after day, she walked through the world carrying a feeling of being unloved, unwanted. I instructed her to cease her wanting and instead to assume the feeling of being deeply loved. Before you sleep tonight, I told her, feel the warmth of loving arms around you. Feel the absolute certainty that you are cherished beyond measure. She followed this instruction not once, but night after night. Within a month, her entire demeanor had changed. She no longer moved through the world as one seeking love, but as one who knew herself to be loved. And as is always the case, when one assumes a new state, her external reality rearranged itself to match her inner knowing. The loving relationship she had sought appeared in her life, seemingly by chance, yet perfectly aligned with the law, living from the end. If the universe responds to your state of being, then the great secret of manifestation is to assume the state of your wish fulfilled. This is what I mean when I speak of living from the end. When you live from the end, you are not looking toward a desired future, you are experiencing it as present fact in your imagination. And imagination, when coupled with feeling, is the very substance of reality and formation. Consider this: every invention, every building, every work of art first existed in someone's imagination before it was made manifest in the physical world. The Wright brothers imagined human flight before they created the first airplane. Michelangelo saw David within the marble before his chisel touched the stone. In the same way, the life you desire already exists in potential, awaiting your assumption of its reality and consciousness. The universe does not need to create it anew. It needs only to move the existing pieces of your life to match your inner conviction. I knew a physician who dreamed of opening a clinic to serve those who could not afford medical care. For years he said, "I want to open my clinic," yet he remained in his conventional practice. When he came to understand the principle I am sharing with you tonight, he began to assume the state of already running his dream clinic. Each night before sleep, he would imagine walking through the doors of his clinic. He would feel the satisfaction of treating patients regardless of their ability to pay. He would hear their words of gratitude. He would experience the fulfillment of his life's purpose not as a future event, but as a present reality. Within 6 months, a series of seemingly unrelated events led to the fulfillment of this dream. A building became available in precisely the location he had imagined. Funding appeared from unexpected sources. Medical supplies were donated by a company that was upgrading its equipment. The universe did not respond to his years of wanting. It responded immediately when he assumed the state of already being what he desired to be. The LAYS impersonal. My friends, I must emphasize that the law of which I speak is entirely impersonal. It does not judge whether your desires are noble or ignoble, spiritual or material. It simply responds to the state you occupy. This is why you will find both saints and criminals who understand the law and use it effectively. The saint assumes the state of communion with God and experiences divine revelations. The criminal assumes the state of successful theft and finds opportunities for ill-gotten gain. The law itself is neutral. It is the consciousness of the individual that determines how the law will operate in their personal experience. I am not suggesting that you use this knowledge for questionable purposes. I am merely illustrating that the universe does not make moral judgments about your desires. It simply reflects back to you the state you have chosen to occupy. This understanding should free you from any lingering belief that you must somehow be worthy of your desires. The only worthiness required is your willingness to assume the state of the wish fulfilled. The universe does not respond to your worthiness. It responds to your consciousness. The Sabbath, resting on the assumption, having recognized that the universe responds not to your wanting, but to your state of being, the question naturally arises, how do we maintain the desired state long enough for it to become our physical reality? The answer lies in what the ancient scriptures call the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not merely a day of the week. It is a state of consciousness. It is that moment when you rest from your labors, knowing that what you have been seeking is already yours in consciousness. When God completed the work of creation, he rested knowing it was finished. In the same way, once you have assumed the state of your wish fulfilled, you must rest in that assumption, knowing that the work is complete on the level of consciousness and its physical manifestation is assured. This rest is not inactivity. You will still go about your daily tasks, but you will do so from a new state of being, carrying within you the quiet confidence that what you have assumed in consciousness must, by law, become your physical experience. I have often told the story of a man who desired a promotion in his company. For months he had been passed over despite his qualifications. When he learned this principle, he began to assume the feeling of already occupying the new position. He mentally heard the congratulations of his colleagues. He felt the satisfaction of the increased responsibility and compensation. Having assumed this state, he then rested in his assumption. He did not anxiously check for signs of his promotion. He did not repeatedly discuss his desire with colleagues. He simply knew with unshakable conviction that in consciousness, the promotion was already his. 2 weeks later, he was called into his superior's office and informed that due to a reorganization of the company, a new position had been created, one that perfectly matched his skills and offered even greater advancement than he had imagined. The universe had responded not to his wanting, but to his being, the creative power of revision. There are times, my dear friends, when despite our best efforts, we find ourselves entrenched in undesirable states. Perhaps we have been living with the consciousness of illness, financial struggle, or strained relationships for so long that it seems impossible to assume a new state. In such moments, we can employ the powerful technique of revision. Revision is the art of reimagining past events to align with our desired state of being. It is not mere wishful thinking or denial of reality. It is a conscious restructuring of our relationship to our past. Consider that what we call the past exists only in our memory. And memory is not fixed, it is fluid, subject to constant reinterpretation. By revising our memories, we alter the foundations upon which our current state rests. I recall a woman who had experienced a bitter argument with her sister, leading to years of estrangement. The memory of that argument poisoned her thoughts and kept her in a state of resentment and loss. When she learned the principle of revision, she began each night to reimagine that pivotal conversation. In her imagination, she replaced harsh words with expressions of understanding. She felt the warmth of reconciliation instead of the cold of rejection. Night after night, she revised this memory until the new version felt more real to her than the original experience. Within a month, she received a letter from her sister expressing a desire to heal their relationship. The universe responded not to the historical facts, but to the woman's revised state of consciousness. The power of your assumptions. My friends, let us delve deeper into what truly shapes your reality. Your assumptions, even those of which you are not consciously aware, are constantly being projected into your experience. These assumptions are not merely thoughts. They are the deeply held convictions about yourself and the world that color your perception and draw corresponding experiences to you. Many go through life never examining their core assumptions. They assume life is difficult, people are untrustworthy, success is for the lucky few, or love is fleeting. And as they cling to these assumptions, the law faithfully delivers experiences that confirm them. I knew a businessman who, despite his intelligence and work ethic, repeatedly found himself in failed ventures. When we examined his assumptions, we discovered that deep within his consciousness lay the conviction that success requires struggle, and anything easily gained is not truly valuable. With this understanding, is it any wonder that the universe presented him with one struggle after another? He was not experiencing these difficulties because the universe was indifferent to his desires. He was experiencing them because the universe was responding perfectly to his assumptions about the nature of success. Once he recognized these hidden assumptions, he began the work of deliberately assuming their opposites. Success flows to me with ease, he would affirm before sleep. My prosperity benefits everyone it touches. As he persisted in these new assumptions, his external circumstances gradually transformed to match his inner canvas, the imaginal ACT. How then do we effectively transition from our current state to the desired state? Through what I call the imaginal act, a deliberate exercise of consciousness in which we temporarily set aside physical reality and immerse ourselves in the reality we wish to experience. The imaginal act is not daydreaming or idle fantasy. It is a controlled, purposeful use of imagination to create a sensory-rich experience of your wish fulfilled. During the imaginal act, You temporarily close the door on the world of the senses and open yourself to the world of infinite possibilities. For this exercise to be effective, it must include sensory detail. If you desire a new home, you must not merely see it, you must feel the doorknob in your hand, hear your footsteps on the floor, smell the freshness of the air, touch the texture of the walls. You must occupy the scene as if it were physically present. The power of the imaginal act lies not in its duration, but in its intensity. A single moment of complete immersion in the feeling of the wish fulfilled can be more effective than hours of half-hearted visualization. The key is to achieve what I call the feeling of reality. That moment when your imaginative experience feels as solid and substantial as any physical experience. I taught this principle to a young artist who had struggled for years to have his work recognized. Each night he would engage in an imaginal act in which he stood in a gallery surrounded by his paintings. He would hear specific words of appreciation from attendees. He would feel the quiet satisfaction of artistic recognition. Within 3 months, he was invited to participate in a group exhibition at a prestigious gallery, the very recognition he had been imagining. The universe responded not to his years of wanting recognition, but to his assumption of already having received it. The law of identical harvest. There exists a principle articulated in various spiritual traditions that you reap what you sow. I prefer to think of this as the law of identical harvest. Whatever you plant in consciousness through your consistent assumptions, feelings, and imaginal acts must eventually flower into corresponding external experiences. This law operates with mathematical precision. If you plant corn, you cannot harvest wheat. If you plant assumptions of lack, you cannot harvest abundance. If you plant feelings of unworthiness, you cannot harvest experiences of being valued and appreciated. Many misunderstand this principle, believing that if they think positive thoughts occasionally while maintaining a consciousness of limitation, they will somehow reap positive results. But occasional thoughts have little power against the deeply rooted assumptions that govern your basic sense of identity and possibility. It is not what you think about occasionally, but what you consistently assume yourself to be that creates your reality. Your harvest will always be identical in kind to the seeds you have planted in consciousness. I recall a teacher who came to me in despair over her classroom of unruly students. I want them to be respectful and engaged, she said. Yet each day she walked into her classroom assuming conflict and resistance. Her consciousness was filled with seeds of classroom struggle. I instructed her to plant new seeds to assume that her students were capable, interested, and naturally inclined toward order. Before each class, she would imagine the feeling of teaching engaged, respectful students. She would feel the satisfaction of meaningful educational exchange. Within weeks, the atmosphere in her classroom transformed. The universe responded not to her wanting better behavior from her students, but to her assumption of already experiencing ideal classroom interactions. Persistence until naturalness. My dear friends, the transition from one state to another is rarely instantaneous in its physical manifestation. While the shift in consciousness can occur in a moment, the reorganization of your external circumstances typically unfolds over time. The key to successful manifestation is persistence, not the strained persistence of forcing yourself to believe something against all evidence, but the natural persistence that comes from knowing the law and trusting its operation. When you first assume a new state, it may feel artificial, like wearing clothes that don't quite fit. But with consistent attention to maintaining this state in consciousness, it eventually becomes your natural self-concept. When this naturalness is achieved, the manifestation of your desire is assured. I have observed that many abandon their imaginal work too soon. They assume the state of the wish fulfilled for a few days, see no immediate physical evidence, and conclude that the principle is not working. What they fail to realize is that manifestation follows a natural gestation period. Just as a seed planted in soil requires time to sprout and grow. There was a salesman who dreamed of doubling his income. Following these principles, he assumed the state of already earning his desired amount. For weeks, he maintained this assumption without seeing any change in his commission checks. Lesser men might have abandoned the practice, but he persisted. In the 9th week, he was offered a position managing a team of salespeople, a role that more than doubled his income. The universe had been responding to his assumption all along, rearranging circumstances in ways he could not have anticipated to deliver the essence of his desire. The distinction between wishing and assuming. As we near the conclusion of our discussion, I must emphasize the crucial distinction between wishing for something and assuming it as fact in consciousness. This distinction marks the difference between those who use the law successfully and those who remain perpetually disappointed. Wishing places your desire in an imaginary future that never arrives. It maintains the separation between you and your desire. Someday the wisher says, I will have what I want. And in this declaration, they ensure that their desire remains forever distant. Assuming, by contrast, collapses time. It brings your desire into the present moment as a completed fact. I am now what I desire to be, declares the one who assumes. And in this declaration, they unite with their desire, becoming in consciousness what they seek to be in experience. The universe does not respond to your wishes, it responds to your assumptions. It does not deliver what you want, it delivers what you are. The great secret, then, is to assume yourself to be what you seek, and from this assumption to live and act as though it were already so. I knew a woman who wished to reconcile with her estranged son. For years she had tried to re-establish contact, sending letters and messages that went. When she learned these principles, she ceased her external efforts and focused on assuming the state of already having a loving relationship with her son. Each night before sleep, she would imagine a scene that implied their reconciliation. She would feel the joy of their restored connection. She would hear his voice expressing love and forgiveness. She persisted in this practice, transferring her energy from wishing for a future reconciliation to experiencing a present harmony. Within 2 months, she received a phone call from her son, the first in over 3 years. The conversation led to a meeting, which led to the healing of their relationship. The universe responded not to her wanting reconciliation, but to her assumption of it as an accomplished fact, living in a state of abundance. My friends, as we bring this discussion to a close, I want to address the most common desire expressed by those who attend my lectures, the desire for greater abundance, prosperity, and financial freedom. Many approach this desire from a consciousness of lack. They see money as something outside themselves that they must struggle to acquire. They believe there is a limited supply of wealth, and they must compete with others to secure their portion. And as they maintain this consciousness, the universe faithfully delivers experiences of financial struggle and limitation. The truth is that abundance is not something you obtain, it is a state you occupy. When you live in the state of abundance, you experience yourself as connected to the infinite supply of the universe. You know with unshakable conviction that all your needs are met, not from a limited external source, but from the limitless source within. From this state, you take actions not from desperation, but from inspiration. You make decisions not from fear, but from a sense of security and possibility. And as you live from this state, the universe rearranges itself to reflect your consciousness of plenty. I recall a woman who had lived for years with financial anxiety, constantly worrying about paying her bills. When she learned these principles, she began to live from the state of abundance. Each night she would fall asleep feeling the relief and gratitude of having more than enough. During the day, she would walk through the world carrying this feeling of abundance, regardless of her bank balance. Within 3 months, opportunities for increased income appeared in her life. A skill she had developed as a hobby became the foundation for a profitable business. An investment she had made years earlier suddenly increased in value. The universe responded not to her wanting abundance, but to her being abundant in consciousness. The final word, faith in the old law. We have covered much ground tonight, exploring the profound truth that the universe responds not to your wants, but to your state of being. As we conclude, I wish to leave you with a final thought on the role of faith in the application of this law. Faith in the context of manifestation is not blind belief in something for which there is no evidence. It is the conviction born of understanding that the law operates with mathematical precision. It is the certainty that when you assume a state in consciousness, the universe must deliver experiences that match that state. This faith is not something you must struggle to attain. It arises naturally from an intellectual and experiential understanding of the law. The more you observe the law in operation in your own life, the stronger your faith becomes until it transforms into knowing. Begin tonight to practice what you have learned. Choose one desire that has thus far eluded you. Rather than wanting it, assume the state of already possessing it. Create an imaginal scene that implies its fulfillment. Feel the reality of this scene. Fall asleep in this state. Maintain this assumption during your waking hours, and watch as the universe, with perfect fidelity, reshapes your external world to match your inner conviction. Remember always, the universe doesn't care what you want, it cares what you are. Assume yourself to be what you seek, and by law you must become it in experience. My dear friends, it has been my honor to share these principles with you tonight. May you use them wisely to create a life of fulfillment, joy, and service to your fellow man. For in the end, the greatest use of this law is not merely to acquire possessions, but to become the fullest expression of your dying potential. Go now in the confidence that the power that shapes worlds lies within you, responding always to your consciousness. The universe awaits your command, delivered not through wanting, not through pleading, but through the quiet assumption of already being what you desire to be. Many of you sit here tonight feeling that life has somehow passed you by, that opportunities have been missed, that you are running behind schedule in the grand scheme of things. You look at others who seem to have achieved their desires sooner, who manifested their dreams with apparent ease. And you wonder, why not me? Why have I been delayed? I am here to tell you with absolute conviction that you have not been delayed at all. What you have interpreted as delay has actually been divine preparation. In the grand symphony of creation, there is no such thing as delay. There is only perfect timing. And this perfect timing is orchestrated not by some external deity sitting on a distant throne, but by the God that dwells within you, your own wonderful human imagination. For God and your imagination are one and the same. Let us begin by understanding a fundamental truth. The world that you perceive outside of yourself is nothing more than a reflection, a shadow, an echo of your own consciousness. It is not causative, it is an effect. The only creative power in this universe is consciousness, is imagination. All that you behold, said William Blake, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. So when you look at your life and see what appears to be delay, what you are truly seeing is the outpicturing of your own consciousness in its process of preparation. God, your own wonderful human imagination, has been preparing you for this very moment, this precise juncture in time when you are ready to receive and express your desires in their fullest form. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible, a story not of literal history, but of psychological truth. Joseph was given dreams of greatness, visions of his brothers bowing before him. Yet what followed these dreams? Years of apparent setback and delay. He was thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. From the limited perspective of human reasoning, these experiences would appear to be terrible delays and detours. But from the higher perspective of divine wisdom, they were necessary preparations. Each seeming setback was actually a setup for Joseph's ultimate triumph. His time in Potiphar's house taught him management. His time in prison taught him discernment. And when the moment finally came for him to interpret Pharaoh's dream and rise to a position of power, he was prepared in ways he could never have been without those experiences that seemed on the surface to be delays. My dear friends, I say to you now, your life has followed the same pattern. What you have interpreted as delay has actually been divine preparation. The God within you has been orchestrating every experience, every seeming setback, every apparent detour to prepare you for this very moment. Now let us explore the true nature of time. In our physical world, we perceive time as linear, a straight line stretching from past to present to future. But in the realm of imagination, in the realm of God, time is not linear at all. All moments exist simultaneously in what we might call the eternal now. When you enter the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire fulfilled, you are not working against time or trying to accelerate a process that is taking too long. Rather, you are simply selecting from infinite possibilities the version of reality in which your desire is already fulfilled. You are not waiting for something to happen in time. You are choosing which completed reality to experience. This understanding transforms your relationship with what you have perceived as delay. If all possible states exist now, and your task is simply to occupy the state of your desire fulfilled, then the concept of delay becomes meaningless. There is only the state you are currently occupying in consciousness and the state you wish to occupy. The movement between these states is not governed by time, but by your ability to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. I want to share with you a principle that has transformed countless lives, including my own. It is the principle of revision. Revision is the art of reinterpreting your past from the vantage point of your present understanding. And tonight, I invite you to revise your entire understanding of what you have called delay in your life. Take all those experiences that seem to hold you back, that appeared to be obstacles in your path, that you interpreted as signs that you were somehow running behind schedule in life, and revise them. See them now, not as delays, but as essential preparations. See God, your own wonderful human imagination, carefully orchestrating each experience to prepare you for this moment. The job you didn't get, it wasn't a delay, it was preparation for a better position that required you to develop specific skills first. The relationship that didn't work out, it wasn't a delay, it was preparation for a deeper connection that needed you to learn important lessons about yourself. The project that failed, it wasn't a delay, it was preparation for success that required you to refine your approach. In the first chapter of Ecclesiastes, we read, "That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which it may be said, see, this is new? It has already been in ancient times before us." This scripture reveals the eternal nature of all experience. Your desire, the state you wish to occupy, already exists. It is not something that must be created anew or that must unfold over time. It already is. Your task is not to create it, but to enter into it through the doorway of assumption. Let me tell you about a friend of mine who came to me feeling that life had passed him by. He was in his 50s and had not achieved the financial success he had always dreamed of. He felt delayed, left behind, as he watched others achieve what seemed to elude him. I shared with him this principle we're discussing tonight, that what appears as delay is actually divine preparation. I asked him to take a few moments each night before sleep to revise his understanding of his past, to see each seeming failure not as delay, but as preparation, to recognize that God, his own wonderful human imagination, had been preparing him through each experience for the perfect expression of his desire. After 3 weeks of this practice, he called me, excitement evident in his voice. He had received an opportunity that perfectly combined all the skills he had developed through his various failed ventures over the years. An opportunity that would have been impossible for him to fulfill had he not had exactly the life experiences he had. What he had seen as delay was revealed to be perfect preparation. My dear friends, this is the truth of your life as well. The divine wisdom within you has been orchestrating your path with perfect precision. There has been no delay. There has only been preparation. Now let us discuss how you can apply this understanding practically in your daily life. The first step is to completely revise your concept of time. Release the idea that you are working against the clock, that opportunities have passed you by, that you must hurry to catch up with some imagined schedule. Instead, recognize that the only time that matters is the eternal now of imagination. In this eternal now, your task is simply to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, to live from the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire already achieved, to be in imagination what you wish to be in what you call reality. The second step is to practice what I call mental dieting. Just as you would carefully monitor what foods you put into your physical body, if you are preparing for peak physical performance, so too must you monitor what thoughts you allow into your mental body as you prepare for peak manifestation. From this moment forward, refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts the truth we have discussed tonight. When the suggestion arises that you have been delayed, recognize it as a false interpretation and mentally revise it. Replace it with the truth. I have not been delayed. God has been preparing me for this moment. This mental diet is crucial because what you feed grows and what you starve disappears. Feed the concept of divine preparation and it will grow in your consciousness. Starve the concept of delay and it will fade away. The third step is to practice what I call living from the end. This means that you must mentally and emotionally occupy the state of your desire fulfilled now in your imagination. Feel the reality of it. Experience the joy, the gratitude, the satisfaction of having already achieved or received what you desire. When you live from the end in this way, you are not trying to manipulate external events to conform to your wishes. Rather, you are shifting your consciousness to the state that corresponds to those wishes already fulfilled. And since the external world is simply a reflection of your consciousness, it must, by spiritual law, reconfigure itself to match the state you are occupying. Let me illustrate this with a simple example. Imagine that you desire promotion at work. The conventional approach would be to work harder, to impress your superiors, to strategize and plan how to achieve this promotion over time. And in that approach, there would always be the possibility of delay, of things not happening as quickly as you wish. But the approach I am suggesting is entirely different. Instead of focusing on the process of getting from where you are to where you want to be, you simply occupy in consciousness the state of already having received the promotion. You feel the satisfaction of it. You mentally hear colleagues congratulating you. You imagine the increased responsibility and compensation as if they are already yours. When you do this, you are not working against time or trying to accelerate a process. You are simply selecting from infinite possibilities the version of reality in which your promotion has already occurred. And as you consistently occupy this state in consciousness, the outer world must reshape itself to match your inner assumption. This approach transcends the entire concept of delay. There is no delay in selecting which state of consciousness to occupy. It is an instantaneous choice. The only factor that determines how quickly your outer world reflects this choice is the consistency and intensity with which you occupy the chosen state. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, I've been trying to manifest my desires for years. If there's no such thing as delay, why haven't they appeared in my physical reality? This is a fair question, and it brings us to a deeper understanding of the manifestation process. The key lies in the word trying. When you are trying to manifest something, you are operating from a state of not having it. You are affirming through your very effort that what you desire is absent and must be attained. This state of consciousness, the state of absence and effort, is what manifests in your reality, not the thing you are trying to attain. True manifestation occurs not through effort but through assumption. You must not try to make your desire happen. You must assume that it already has happened. This subtle but crucial difference is what separates those who manifest their desires quickly from those who experience what appears to. Let us examine this principle through the lens of Scripture. In Mark 11:24, Jesus who I understand not as a historical figure, but as a symbol of the divine imagination within each of us, says, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Note the tense of the verbs here. It does not say believe that you will receive it. It says believe that you have received it. This is the key to transcending the illusion of delay. You must believe in the present perfect tense that what you desire has already been given to you. And from that state of consciousness, the outer manifestation must follow. My dear friends, in this eternal moment, God, your own wonderful human imagination, is calling you to a higher understanding. An understanding that transcends the limited perspective that interprets life's journey in terms of delay and disappointment. You have not been delayed. Every moment of your life has been precisely orchestrated to prepare you for this moment. The moment you are ready to fully embrace and express your desires in their perfect form. The moment when your consciousness has matured to the point where it can hold and sustain the state that corresponds to your wish fulfilled. I want to share with you now a technique that will help you integrate this understanding at a deep level. It is a technique I call the retrospective method. Each night before you sleep, I want you to mentally review your day, but from a special vantage point. I want you to imagine that you are looking back on this day from the perspective of having already achieved your desire. For example, if your desire is for financial abundance, you would look back on today as if you were already financially abundant. You might think, how wonderful that on that day, even though I had not yet seen the full manifestation of my wealth, God was preparing me. That book one read, that person I met, that idea that came to me, all of it was divine preparation for the abundance I now enjoy. This retrospective view accomplishes two powerful things. First, it reframes your present experiences as meaningful preparation rather than frustrating delay. Second, it places you in consciousness, in the state of your desire fulfilled, looking back on your journey rather than looking forward with uncertainty. Practice this technique consistently, and you will find that your entire relationship with time and manifestation begins to transform. The sense of being delayed or behind schedule will dissolve, replaced by a profound appreciation for the perfect unfolding of your life's journey. Now let us address another aspect of this principle, the role of divine timing. While it is true that in the realm of imagination all states exist simultaneously, the expression of these states in our three-dimensional reality does involve what appears to be time. This is not because manifestation itself takes time, but because our consciousness requires time to fully adjust to and stabilize in a new state. Think of it this way. If you have spent years occupying a state of consciousness characterized by limitation, lack, or delay, your mental muscles have been conditioned to maintain that state. When you decide to shift to a state of abundance, fulfillment, and divine timing, those mental muscles need to be reconditioned. And this reconditioning process appears, from our human perspective, to take time. But here's the crucial distinction. This is not delay. This is development. Just as a seed planted in the ground is not delayed in becoming a tree, it is developing according to divine law. So too is your manifestation developing according to the law of your consciousness. The oak tree already exists within the acorn, not as a miniature tree, but as a pattern of development, a blueprint of becoming. Similarly, the fulfillment of your desire already exists within your consciousness, not as a miniature version of what will one day be, but as a pattern of development that is unfolding with perfect precision. When you understand this, you can release all anxiety, all frustration, all sense of being delayed. You can rest in the absolute assurance that what appears as time passing is actually the perfect unfoldment of your manifestation according to divine law. In the second chapter of Habakkuk we read, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." This scripture contains a seeming contradiction. It says both though it tarry and it will not tarry. But the contradiction dissolves when you understand the principle we're discussing. From the limited human perspective focused on external events, the manifestation may appear to tarry or delay. But from the higher perspective of divine law, It is not delaying at all. It is unfolding with perfect precision, neither too soon nor too late. My dear friends, I want to share with you now a personal experience that illustrates this principle. Years ago, I desired to share these teachings with a wider audience. I imagined myself speaking to large groups, writing books that would touch many lives, having a profound impact on how understood the power of imagination. But for a time, nothing seemed to happen externally. I continued to study, to practice, to refine my understanding. From a limited perspective, I might have interpreted this as delay. But inwardly, I knew better. I knew that God, my own wonderful human imagination, was preparing me for the perfect expression of this desire. I continued to live from the end, to occupy in consciousness the state of being a successful teacher and author. I mentally heard the congratulations of friends, felt the satisfaction of helping others, experienced the joy of sharing these principles widely. And then, at what I now recognize as the perfect moment, when my consciousness had fully matured into the state I desired, opportunities to speak arose. The books began to flow through me. The impact I had imagined began to materialize in the lives of those I taught. What might have been interpreted as delay was revealed to be divine preparation. Every moment of study, every practice session, every refinement of understanding was necessary for the full and perfect expression of my desire. And so it is with you, my dear friends. What you have interpreted as delay in your life has actually been divine preparation. God, your own wonderful human imagination, has been orchestrating every experience to prepare you for this very moment. This moment now is when you are ready to fully receive and express your desire. This moment now is the appointed time for your vision to speak and not lie. This moment now is the culmination of all that has come before and the beginning of all that will follow. As we begin to conclude our discussion tonight, I want to emphasize a crucial point. The principle we've explored is not merely a philosophical concept to be intellectually understood. It is a living truth to be embodied and expressed in your daily experience. From this moment forward, I invite you to completely abandon the concept of delay in your life. Remove it from your vocabulary, both spoken and unspoken. When the suggestion arises that you have been delayed or are behind schedule, recognize it. And as a misinterpretation of divine preparation. Replace that misinterpretation with the truth: I have not been delayed. God has been preparing me for this moment. Feel the shift in your emotional state as you embrace this understanding. Feel the release of frustration and anxiety. Feel the influx of peace and assurance. This shift in consciousness is not merely a psychological technique for feeling better about your circumstances. It is a fundamental realignment with the truth of your being that will transform how your life unfolds from this moment forward. When you truly understand that there is no delay, only divine preparation, you step out of the limited perspective of human reasoning and into the unlimited perspective of divine wisdom. From this perspective, everything in your life, every experience, every encounter, every seeming setback is viewed as a necessary and perfect part of your journey. This understanding does not lead to passive acceptance of undesired circumstances. On the contrary, it empowers you to actively participate in the creative process by consciously choosing which state to occupy in imagination. But it does release you from the frustration and anxiety that come from fighting against what appears to be delay. In the final analysis, time itself is a construct of consciousness. Einstein's theory of relativity has shown that time is not an absolute, but is relative to the observer. What quantum physics has discovered scientifically, mystics and spiritual teachers have known intuitively for centuries. Time is fluid, malleable, responsive to consciousness. Your experience of time, whether it seems to drag with delay or flow with divine precision, is determined by the state of consciousness you occupy. When you live in the state of your desire fulfilled, time becomes your servant rather than your master. The manifestation of your desire occurs not according to some external timetable, but according to the law of your consciousness. My dear friends, as we conclude our discussion tonight, I want to leave you with a practical application of everything we've explored. Tomorrow, as you go about your day, I want you to consciously interpret every experience, particularly those that might previously have seemed like obstacles or delays, as divine preparation. The traffic jam that makes you late for a meeting, divine preparation, perhaps saving you from an accident further down the road, or aligning you with the person you need to meet who would not have been there at your originally scheduled arrival time. The project that takes longer than expected to complete, divine preparation, allowing for the refinement and perfection that make it far more impactful than it would have been in its hastier form. The opportunity that goes to someone else instead of you. Divine preparation, freeing you for a better opportunity that requires you to be available at precisely the moment it appears. As you practice this consciousness throughout your day, you will find that your entire relationship with time begins to transform. The sense of being rushed, of running behind, of missing out, all of these fall away, replaced by a profound trust in the perfect unfolding of your life according to divine law. And in this transformed relationship with time, you will discover a new freedom. Freedom from the anxiety of deadlines, the pressure of expectations, the frustration of perceived delays. Freedom to fully inhabit each moment as the perfect expression of divine wisdom. This freedom is your birthright. It is the natural state of a consciousness aligned with truth. And it is available to you now in this eternal moment as you embrace the understanding that you have not been delayed. God has been preparing you for this moment. My dear wonderful friends, I have shared with you tonight a truth that has the power to transform your entire experience of life. A truth that liberates you from the frustration of perceived delay and opens you to the peace of divine preparation. You have not been delayed. God, your own wonderful human imagination, has been preparing you with infinite wisdom and perfect precision for this very moment. Every experience, every encounter, every seeming setback has been an essential thread in the tapestry of your becoming. As you leave here tonight and return to your daily lives, carry this truth with you. Let it inform how you interpret your experiences. Let it guide how you perceive your past and approach your future. Let it transform your relationship with time itself. And know this with absolute certainty, the desire that burns within you, that vision of fulfillment and achievement and joy, has not been delayed. It has been in preparation. And now, at this perfect moment, it is ready to express itself through you in its fullest and most beautiful form. For you are God's perfect creation, and your life unfolds according to divine law. There is no delay in God's universe, only perfect timing, perfect wisdom, perfect love. Go now in peace, embracing the truth that you have not been delayed. God has been preparing you for this moment, and in this moment all things are possible. Thank you, and good night.